In this chapter, we are going to learn about record and playback feature of Katalon Studio. For this, for the demonstration purpose, I will be using Orange HRM as an application under test. This would be the URL. For your own learning and testing purpose, you can sign up and can have your own URL. Once we do the record feature of Katalon Studio, there would be some key elements that would be discussed, which are open browser, navigating to a URL, setting a text in a text field like user ID and password, clicking on some of the buttons and some other navigations, and finally execute the recorded test case. You can see I would be using two scenarios over here, that is pre-login, which will cover open browser, navigate to URL and set text. And in the post login, we will do some clicks on few of the functionalities and stop the recording and then execute the recorded test case. So let's get started with this. We have seen that we have created a test case file earlier. So this is our test case file. For recording, we need to click on the record web icon over here. And in the URL, you need to key in the URL of your application, which is also the entry point for Katalon to record any actions. To record, you need to select a type of browser as well. So let's select Chrome, for example. As you can see, there is some error that has popped up, and it is saying this version of Chrome driver only supports Chrome version 89 and the current browser version is 91 dot something. So I purposely selected Chrome to show this error and see how in future we can solve this problem. So for now, I will just click on OK and not choose Chrome as my browser for recording the actions. So for now, let me try with another browser, that is Firefox. Okay, Firefox browser has been launched, and if I can explain a bit over here before we deep dive into the rest of the recording. So the first action from Katalon is always open a browser, which is when you click on the browser option over here. And because you have key in the URL, which is the entry point for the application, that is the second step, that is called as navigate to URL over here. If you can see, there are other open and close browser options over here. That is because when we try to do with Chrome. So if you don't want it, you can click it from step number 1 to step number 4 and just remove. Okay, so these are the first two steps of Katalon which has been recorded, that is opening the Firefox browser and navigating to the URL. Now, if we go on the left hand side, if I go to application window itself, if you can see, wherever I am trying to mouse over, that particular area under test for recording would be selected in a red box. So for example, I want to key in the user ID over here. I can type my user ID. Okay. And for the password, I can click on the password field. So here, my password, let me just key in. If you can see on the right hand side, there are three more actions that has been, or three more action has been taken. That is when I try to click on the admin button or to input the user ID, and the set text is where I key in the user ID, which is admin. So in the input section, you can see it. And the password is where my password has been keyed. Default is set the password, any sensitive data that you key in using Katalon, it would be set as encrypted, but later we will see how we can change it to plain text as well, right? So if you can see, opening a browser and navigating to URL it has got no object to interact, right? But however, these are the web objects, the web elements, right? Like admin, the user ID field, the password field. If you want, let me just put it on our side so you can see it clearly. So admin, so this particular user ID field is a object. So this object has been now already recorded when we try to key in or click on that particular object. Same is for the password field. Now the next action, when I try to click on the login button, there would be a sixth step coming up over here, and its object will also get recorded. So let me quickly do a basic recording, and then we'll stop it and try to execute the recorded test case. So number 6 is click on login. So this is that was your pre-login, and now this is your post-login screen. In the post-login, let me navigate to few of the functionalities over here. For example, let's say I want to go and apply for leave. So I will click on the leave, apply leave over here. And basically I try to click on the image. If I want to click by the visible text also, we can do. So for example, in applying leave, there are, the drop down boxes. So I'm not going to cover the drop down boxes in this chapter. For this, I have another special chapter on it. How do we deal with the drop down items and how do we select those data? So for this recording, for this chapter, I will be just focusing on the few basic clicks, and I will try to do a logout. So I was under leave. So let's say I want to go back to my home page using the visible text. I will try to click. Okay, it has come up. Let the page load fully. Okay, and now I will try to log out. Okay, and click on log out over here. Okay, and that is the end of my recording, a simple scenario. Before closing, I don't need to close the browser. What I can do is just click on the stop button over here. Once I click on the stop button, the browser would be closed automatically. And that closing browser is also an action, and that will be added as step number 12. So let me just go and click on this. Okay, so these 12 steps are my recorded step. So I need to save it first. So let me explain one more thing. So items are basically the actions that we have taken, and objects are the web elements on which those action has been taken. Input, as we know, any supplied input like URL, ID, and password would be there. So if I click on OK, what will happen is Katalon will store all the objects into the object repository folder over here. So for better test case management and to organize your work, you can always create a new folder. So as you can see, for my application or project file, there are so many application folders. So every time if you are doing a recording, a fresh recording for your own application, try to create a new folder and just give any meaningful name. So I'll just say Orange HRM login. Click on OK and click on OK. So this is your recorded test case. You can see all the items, all the actions, and the objects. Objects, if you want to deep dive, you can go into the object repository folder, which is over here. Scroll down to the name of the object repository folder that we created just now, that is Orange HRM. And this is what you can see, there are a lot of other pages, and this is the actual the web element that has been recorded under that page. So this is basically that explains the POM, which is page object model, is one of the framework used in Katalon. We will deep dive into the object repository, what it consists of, what are the different attributes, and how we can play around with it. So for now, because I've just done my simple recording, let me try to run this test case. Okay. Before that, if you want, you can change the set text to plain text. and it is very simple. Click on this item and click on the drop down over here and look for set text, because our action is setting the password. So now this is encrypted. You can double click on it and the value type would be still string, and can just type the password. So for now, let's say this is the password. We just click on OK, and as we can see, when we close the browser from the recorder, the close browser action is also recorded. Few things that I would like to introduce over here is you can always add additional steps between any of the test steps over here. For example, when the browser was open, it was not into maximize mode. So let's say after opening the browser and before I navigate to the URL, I want to maximize my browser. So how I can do it? Click on the step after which you want to add, and then click on the add button over here. Okay, and then look for a keyword that is maximize window. This will maximize our window. We can also add few other elements like after the logout uh, and before closing the browser, I want to add a delay of few seconds so that the user can visualize that logout and the close browser are two different actions that have been taken successfully. So click on this and look for a keyword like delay. All these delay would be in seconds. So let's say I want to put a delay for 5 seconds, and then after that close the browser. Click on OK and click on save. Now let us try to run this recorded test case on a browser. So for running or executing a test case, you can click on the green button, but the difference between this green button and the drop down is green button is thus it will run on the default browser that we have already seen from the settings. But if you want to, but we know in this example Chrome will definitely give us a issue over here because the driver version is not same as supported version for the Chrome browser. So for simplicity reason, I will just select Firefox and let's see how the execution goes on. There are some certain other things that you can see. Whenever a particular test case is in running mode, it will come as a new job over here like this, launching the test case, and this will go red. So if you want to stop in between, you can just click on the stop button and the test case would be stopped. So let's wait and watch the full execution of the recorded test case. Okay, we can see the browser got maximized automatically. Now it will key in the ID and the password. Click on login. Then it will go and click on the image of my leaf or apply leaf. Successfully done. Then it will go to home page again, and after that it will try to log out. Perfect. Done. So between the logout and closing the browser, there was a delay of 5 seconds that has also been executed. Since and hence the test case has been executed, let us try to analyze the result. So the result will generally come in the console over here if you try to run it from the test case folder. If you want these results to be stored, we need to run the same test case from a test suite, which we will see in the future chapter. So let us try to analyze the output. So green means that particular test case or the test step has run to successful. If it has failed, it will come as red, and if there is any warning, it will come as amber color. So first of all, the high level, you can see a total time of 67 seconds it has taken to execute, and then you can see the timing or the response that has been recorded for each of the steps. For example, opening the browser took some time because there is some handshake happening. So that is approximately 11 seconds. Okay, then we go to like navigating to the URL. It took around like 3 seconds, but of course, this is just a response time that has been recorded and should not be taken into account for any kind of performance or response time of the application. Yeah, and you can see, so if you analyze further, you can see, like, if it is successful, then it will come as green over here, and it will say the object, that whatever is the object is clicked on. So for example, let's say our number 5 was setting the admin set text, the pass ID, user ID, and you can see the text admin is set to the object, which is this object, right? So action is set text, and action is taken on the web element, which is this one, and the input to be supplied is admin. Similar is the case for password also. So here the password is coming in plain text, and if you want to put the encrypted password, you can select the option as it was earlier. Close the browser is the last option, and then you can see the browser has been closed as well. In the script mode, you can see the same test case that you have recorded has been converted into Groovy language over here. We will see further details about object repository, data files, and the test case report into next chapter. See you in the next chapter. Thank you.